Hi guys, this is Andrew here for Tutorial Soup. For this lesson I'm going to show you how to create more shapes. In the last lesson if I just refresh the screen, you'll see what we did. We made a small rectangle look like it's going from the left to the right of the screen. This is simply done by just erasing and updating the screen quite quickly. Basically that's quite easy. In this one I'm going to implement an easy way that we can add more and more shapes to the canvas, because this isn't a very good way of doing it really, because if we wanted another shape we would have to create another instance with different kind of parameters, and then we would also have to do another fill rectangle function here, which just doesn't really work very well. So in order so that we can draw lots of different cubes or rectangles at the same time, we are going to create we're just going to create something else. What I'm going to do, first of all, we're going to add a few variables. One is going to be called number of shapes, and we are also going to have an array. Actually, we call it the shapes array. I also want to change this from player to shape, and we're also going to get rid of this. I just think it's better calling it shape, because at the moment the actual shape we're going to draw isn't going to become the player, it's going to become basically some background stars, and I want to show you how we can make lots of small rectangles and make them look like stars that are gravitating to the left of the screen. So I've created two new variables, number of shapes and shapes array. We're now going to go to the start game function to set up the variables. I'm going to set number of shapes to 1 for now. Shapes array is going to equal new array. That's just, we create the variable up here, and now we've actually defined it as an array here. Now I'm going to create a for loop. If you haven't, so I'm not really explaining everything as I go along. I should perhaps explain what an array is first. Obviously, a lot of you already know what an array is, but for those of you that don't, it's basically a variable which you can hold lots of other variables, also known as elements of an array. It allows you to hold lots of different objects in one variable, basically. A for loop is just a way of looping through a set of commands a certain amount of times. So this will all become clear anyway as you go on. I mean, the more and more you code, the more use you'll get to like all these different functions and loops and things. So we're going to set a variable I equal O. So we're going to initialize this variable with 0. We are going to say if I is less than number of shapes. We're also going to put I. We're going to iterate the variable as well. So I've initialized the variable. Condition is it's going to loop whilst I is less than the number of shapes. At the moment it's at 0, so it's going to be less than 1. When it gets to 1, the loop is going to stop and it's going to break out, and this is just basically incrementing the loop each time it goes through. So the first time the loop will be 0, so it will go through and then it will iterate to 1, and then when it goes through, and when it tests the condition again, when it's 1, it will break out, because that's the maximum number here. So we're going to use this loop to set some parameters for our shape. So we're going to say a variable x equals 150, variable y equals 150 as well. I might as well round it off. Variable width equals we'll say 50. Actually, yeah, that's about right, 50. Variable height equals 50 as well. Oh, one other thing actually we need to add to our object when it's created, and this is going to be velocity. We're going to call it velocity x, because it's going to be how fast shape's going to go along the x-axis. So we're going to we're just going to add this this parameter to the shape when it's created. So which means when I set it here, I'm going to set it to -1. This is just going to basically mean when the shape's drawn, it's going to have a velocity of -1, and on each increment, we're just going to add to that -1, and it's just going to basically possibly start here and then minus, 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 so it's going to travel from right to left. Basically, giving it a value of -1, rather than it travelling from left to right, it's going to travel from right to left wherever it's drawn. Hope I've made that clear. Let's get rid of some of these spaces that I so love so much. And now with these parameters, we're going to create an instance of the shape object here. So shapes array dot push. Push is a method in which we can just push an element into an array. In this instance, it's going to be a new shape, and then the parameters for the shape are going to be these values here. So it's going to be x, y, width, height, and velocity x. We need to put two braces in there, 2 parentheses, sorry, and then semicolon to finish it. So this is all within the within the start game function. So this is obviously setting up the shapes. We're just going to write a little comment here. And by the way, you can write comments in code by just using 2 backslashes or slashes. I'm going to call this setting up shapes. Basically anything with 2 slashes, forward slashes, I guess they are. You should know that really. If anyone's setting up, if anyone puts these within their code, then the text following it will just be ignored. So this sentence here will be ignored. So that's to tell you that this is setting up the shapes. This is then pushing a value into the shapes array that we set up here, and it's pushing object, an instance of the shape object into the array with these parameters here, which I set here. Now that we've done this, we're going to change this a little bit here. We also need to create another loop so that it loops through all the array, all the shapes array. But first, I'm going to create a value to hold the contents of the shape array. So I'm going to call it shape length. Spell it right. Equals shapes array dot length. Now I'm going to create a for loop, which again is going to initialize a variable called I to 0. These are basically just conditions into which the loop is going to loop, basically. So it's basically just to initialize and then set a condition, and then to just increment through the loop. And then we're going to use this shape length here. Shape length. In fact, I'll change this to shapes length. That makes more sense. Oh, done this wrong. So I is less than shapes.length, and then of course I++. Now I'm going to set the end of this loop just before the set timeout. So basically, it's going to loop through this the exact amount of times of the shapes array. So it's going to loop through all the different ones in the shapes array. So we're going to keep that as it is, the clear context clear canvas or clear rectangle. Here, what I'm going to do first, I'm going to create a temp shape. So this temp shape will just be for the confounds of this, the animate function. So temp shape dot x. Sorry, temp shape equals shape. Sorry, shapes I. And this just references the shapes array. So the shapes array brackets I means the array at the position of the increment here. So the position of the value here. So the first time through it will be 0, which will be element 0 in the array, and then so on as it increments through. It will be 1, or however long the shapes array is. So we're going to save this quickly. Now we have the shapes array value or shapes array object stored in this value here, or this variable. I'm going to reference it here when we draw it. So temp shape dot x shape dot y shape dot width temp shape dot height. Now the velocity we mentioned earlier, basically it's the speed and direction. So rather than incrementing the x value of temp shape, we are going to say temp shape equals plus equals. This means temp shape plus temp shape equals something, and we were going to say temp shape dot velocity x. So what this is going to do is it's going to take velocity. Sorry, it's going to take the velocity here, which is -1, and it's basically going to take that and then add another velocity -1 to it. Let me make this clear. It's going to take temp shape dot x is going to be -1, which is what's in temp shape velocity, then it's also next time round it's gonna keep that value and then add another -1 to temp shape.x. So basically it's just going to increment each time. Now if we've done this right, fingers crossed, something's wrong. Let's have a look. Okay, so I know what the problem is. It's just one thing actually, which is quite lucky. When I defined the shape object here, I added the velocity x parameter, or the yeah. I basically, what I didn't do was then put vx here. So basically, it didn't like it because there's a parameter to be set here, but I wasn't adding it as an argument within the parentheses when creating the object. So for some reason it didn't like it. So I put vx. This dot vx equals vx, but you also have to add it here as an argument. So I put vx here. Now this all looks a little bit complicated, but trust me, once you get used to this kind of framework of the initiate function, the start game function, and the animate function here, and then making a call to the initiate. I mean, once you've got this, I mean, you're just going to basically populate these functions as you go along, and it's going to get a lot easier. Now, if I show you this working, see each time it's going through the loop here. In fact, I'll indent that a little bit. It's basically clearing the screen, and when it's drawing the rectangle, it's using a reference to the shapes array. It's using an object, from the shapes array, which is being referenced with the temp shape variable here. And each time it's putting in these parameters here. Well, at the moment it's not really iterating through many times, it's just doing it once. That's why we're only seeing one rectangle. So it's going through this however many elements there is in the array. So because there's only one, which we set up here, because there's only one, it's only going through this loop once, so it's only drawing all these, it's just drawing one rectangle with these parameters, but then when it's doing it, it's setting the x value of the shape to the velocity x, which is minus, and then because it's calling to this animate function every 33 milliseconds, it's changing the x value of the rectangle on screen that we have, which is, there's only one, and it's changing the value of it each time. So because it's a minus value, it's going to move along the screen to the left hand side. So this is iterating through the shapes, setting the x value, and then incrementing it by -1 each time, and then this is making a call to this function every 33 milliseconds, and that's how you got an animation. I mean, we could add another. See, the good thing about this is all you have to do in future if you want to add extra shapes is just change this one variable here, and although you won't see 4 at the moment because they're all going to be composed over the top of each other, you won't see any more than one, but I'm going to show you in the next tutorial how to set a random coordinate for each of the shapes. So when we change the value here, you're going to see lots of shapes drawn everywhere on the canvas, and later on down the line we're going to use this. Actually, possibly in the next tutorial, I'm going to show you how to create a moving star background, which is going to be the background for our game. Yes, I said game, and it's going to look more like a game soon, believe me. When we start putting elements like the player on the screen, as well as the star background. It's going to look more and more like a kind of game. And if you hadn't guessed already, it's going to involve space. It's definitely going to be a space game. So so that's it for this lesson or tutorial. It's been a long one, but I hope you understand that this framework is going to be very useful as time goes on. So I will see you in the next tutorial.